I love Judy, man.
That was a mistake.
I was
You
on
give
the
her-
kind of the enforcers
give
on
her forever to eat.
Yeah.
All right, well, welcome to the December 4th, 2023 City Council Study Session. We will begin this evening with our fiscal year 2023 audit report.
Good evening. My name is Robert Andrus. I'm a partner with Denman. Denman was engaged to perform the fiscal year 2023 audit for the city of Indianola. As we have for the past several years, we were on site early September to go through our audit procedures. We do have the audited financial statements to go with you this evening. The actual audited financial statements themselves it's a dense document. It's like solid 60 odd pages of dense material. So we're going to throw this on a PowerPoint, make this a little more digestible this evening, but I want to encourage you all to read through that document. I know it's a tough read, but there's a whole bunch of good information in there that we simply won't have a chance to get to this evening, not without keeping you here well into the night. We will go through our independent audit report real briefly, look at some summarized fiscal year financial results. I'll spend a little bit of time talking about internal controls, compliance, along with the city's federal awards, and then wrap up with just a brief discussion on a governance communication letter we issue with each of our audits. So beginning with that independent auditor's report, just a couple reminders here on this 3-page letter, which you can find at the very top of the document, the audited financial statements. The financial statements we're about to look at are management financial statements. Management is responsible for ensuring they're complete and accurate, that they conform with accounting standards. In the case of Indianola, that would be the cash basis of accounting, which is a very consistent accounting model used for cities about the size of Indianola. And also management is responsible for ensuring that controls are in place to support accurate financial statements. Our responsibility as the city's auditors is to perform an audit and to express an opinion on whether or not management's financial statements are indeed accurate. So for us to do that, we first start by assessing the risk to a misstatement to management financial statements, what transactions, what balances, what accounts might present the highest risk to an error. So as we look at those, we'll, for all audits, for example, the opportunity for management to override controls is always considered a significant risk. Because we're working with a governmental entity, the fact that we're using public funds is going to increase that level of risk and the level of audit scrutiny that we place in the audit. Once we identify those risks, then we develop audit strategies to mitigate those risks. So looking at supporting documentation, independently confirming accounts and balances, analytical procedures, inquiries of staff, and generally being a nuisance to the for the better part of the week if we gain that audit evidence. And I'm happy to say that we are issuing what we call an unmodified or clean opinion on the financial statements, which is the highest level of assurance that our profession provides regarding the accuracy of the financial statements we're looking at. So diving into those statements here real briefly here, we have just a very summarized version of the statement of activities or income statement for the city for the fiscal year ended, the 12 months ended June 30, 2023, with the prior year to compare to. Obviously, bond proceeds being a big driver here as this comparison, but $31.5 million in cash receipts during the fiscal year, down compared to $58.5 in the prior period. $28 million swing in bond proceeds being the biggest, swing there. Otherwise, revenue stream very, very comparable to the prior period. Total cash basis disbursements, $37.4 million. Again, compared to that 52.3 the prior period. It's a sewer project that's really driving those comparisons. Otherwise, you're seeing modest growth in most of those core government services, and as far as expenditures is concerned, year over year. Total change in cash position, decrease of about 5.9 compared to last year's increase of 6.2. So you just swung cash balances year over year. Stable cash position as compared to 2 years ago. Looking at those cash positions, the general governmental fund cash positions as of the end of the year here, capital projects leading the way, $11.1 million. That would be bond proceeds that have been received, not yet spent down on major capital projects. General fund is also sitting on a healthy fund balance, about 9.5, and urban renewal about 5.6 million. One of the ways we can look at the city's or any local government's fiscal condition or health is to look at that general fund balance as it compares to annual expenditures to determine cash on hand. With a general expectation that 3 to 6 months is generally considered to be a healthy fund balance as far as cash on hand. So as you look at the city of Indianola, there's a 4-year trend line of cash on hand compared to expenditures. We're well north of 250 days still. Down from the prior period, but that has a lot to do with, I believe it was $1 million transfer out of the general fund in fiscal year 2023, a one-time transfer out. to purchase property here to the west. Jumping to the back of the report here to talk on our work related to internal controls and compliance, along with our responsibility to issue that opinion on the financial statements, we do have also some responsibilities regarding internal controls and compliance. So we have to gain an understanding of your control processes as part of our audit procedures. And as we do so, if we identify deficiencies in those controls, we have a responsibility to evaluate those and elevate them into the audit report if they warrant doing so. So we do have one recommendation this year regarding internal controls that I'll touch on here in just a minute. Along with that, we do have some responsibilities that the state places on us to test compliance with state requirements and State Code of Iowa, and to determine whether the city is indeed compliant with those requirements. Most communities do have one or two recommendations that come from that work, and sure, the city of Indianola has a couple here, none of which we consider to be all that material, but they are documented here in the back of the report for you. Finally, in this regard, the city during fiscal year 2023 did have over $750,000 in federal expenditures, which bumped you into a new audit class, what we call a single audit or uniform guidance audit, which is effectively just a compliance audit of your federal awards. When the feds give you money, it comes with 14 different compliance requirements that we are responsible for testing to determine that you are compliant with those requirements. I'm happy to say that our testing did not identify any deficiencies or non-compliance with your federal awards. Just to note a couple of recommendations here, just to give you a little context. There is a fairly good write-up on all those recommendations in the back of the report, so I won't regurgitate them for you verbatim. But just a couple, just to put some context too, we do have one internal control recommendation pertaining to a one-time transaction that happened during the year related to a one-time contribution to staff's HSA. The short version of that transaction, a unique transaction, it didn't quite get posted as intended. It got kind of stuck in, we'll call it kind of accounts payable purgatory for the city's financial statements. City staff have historically not reviewed those payable account balances because they're not particularly material to the financial statements. But because of how this transaction posted, it kind of got stuck. So our recommendation here is simply that city staff review those payable account balances as part of their general review of the financial statements to ensure unique transactions such as that don't get stuck in the wrong part of the financial position. So a journal entry we proposed during the audit process corrected that transaction. The other one I'll point you to towards the back of the report regarding compliance, the city's revenue bonds for its sewer fund do have some covenants regarding generating surplus operating cash flows to meet those bond requirements. In fiscal year 2023, the city did not meet that test. However, the city did increase those sewer rates during the fiscal year with the intention of meeting that covenant going forward. Final slide for you, and then I'll be quiet and let you guys ask me questions. Along with our audit and financial statements, we do issue what we call a governance letter with each of our audits, and this is effectively just our chance to communicate significant matters that we think warrant council's attention directly to you. So I always encourage boards and councils to start with this letter, because if we have dirty laundry, if we have complaints, if we have concerns about the audit, it's going to come in that letter. With that said, I'll also never surprise you in a setting such as this with an interesting governance letter. You'll hear from me well before tonight. So I'm happy to say there are nothing of note within that governance letter. But probably the two most important comments I'll make all night regarding a couple of those bullet points right there regarding disagreements with management and difficulties encountered in performing the audit. We did not have any of either. Staff have always been fantastic to work with, and I want to give Jackie and Andy all the credit here. I know we monopolize their time. We are a bit of a challenge to work with, and they've always been fantastic to put up with us and have our questions answered and work with us efficiently. So I do want to thank you for that. Now that was a lot. I am done now. Can I answer any questions from council regarding the audit or our work?
Believe it or not, I did read your entire audit. And so with that said, you still say we're about 300 days plus on cash reserve, is that correct?
I have you about 250 in the general funding year.
Okay, about 250 days above?
As total cash.
Oh, I see, I misread the report. Okay, thank you. And then you said that we have staff has made a determination then to review the accounts payable. That was about 170,000. Is that what I saw?
That's right.
Okay. And then the other one I had was There was something on credit cards, disbursements. Was there anything in there that we need to tighten up a little bit on or do anything with? You didn't say it as questionable, but you kind of did, but I had a question on that too.
Yeah, so let me just a little context there. The city is tax exempt. It does not have to pay sales tax. With that said, the city does use a fair number of credit cards for the ease of paying for city resources. And the challenge you do have when you use credit cards is that your average staff member at Parks and Rec may not have the same experience and background as your finance department regarding those transactions. So it is not uncommon for a city, any city, to have transactions that do accidentally pay sales tax. The state of Iowa and the Attorney General's office considers the payment of sales tax to be a questionable transaction. So that's the context there in the history. City staff have always done a very good job at being really diligent about those costs, and we do look at them pretty carefully because there is a risk associated with them. So we did identify a couple, and we did have some time to talk to staff about that. But overall, I think the staff's efforts to mitigate that risk is fairly robust.
I understand that. I guess maybe this is a question for staff then on this too then. The places that we normally spend those credit cards, do we have with those businesses tax exempt ID information? Do we do that or?
We have, most of them we do, Steve. We have regular vendors that we work with that we do have sales tax exempt.
Okay.
Notices with them. The ones that were found were just like one-time expenditures.
Okay.
And so we've talked with the employees associated with those, and we'll be watching the receipts pretty closely. They were fairly new to using the credit cards.
And that's understandable, and I understand why that. It's not a big issue, except just want to be in compliance with everything, as we all know. So
I'd also point out that on the general fund reserves, that includes the vehicle and equipment fund, which is about $1 million. And
Okay.
so tonight on the council's consent agenda, we do have the movement of those funds out of the general fund accounting into 890 where they're supposed to.
Yeah, I saw that.
So,
thank you.
okay.
I'm kind of monopolizing everything here. I apologize. So, I don't think I had any other questions. I think that was it. So thank you.
Anybody else? All right, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Sir.
We're moving on agenda to, sorry, I got out of it. Discussion regarding the South K paving project.
Good evening. This evening, we're going to take some time to review the design details for the South K Street paving project. Recall last council meeting, we discussed kind of in general the change to the concept. And we're going to take the time, study session, to talk a little more detailed. So the focus of this discussion is on kind of the design details and the right-of-way impacts and the grading impacts on the project. There is, in the council meeting following the study session, there's some action to set a public hearing to talk about assessments. So we'll get to the next steps a little bit. So for the time being, I'd like to focus a little bit on the details. The exhibits we brought tonight are called the 8 sheets, is their nickname, and that shows the right-of-way sheet, or the right-of-way needs for the project. It also shows the geometry that we're building, and it shows the grading limits, which kind of gives you the idea of how much is going to be disturbed during the project. If you could zoom in just a little bit, Jackie, the heavy dashed black line is the existing right-of-way. This is the right-of-way that you already own or have control over, that is on the road fits in. The red dash dot line is the grading limits. So that shows the limits that will be disturbed. Now, that's theoretical. So I'm just telling you that they'll probably be disturbed all the way to the fence because you have to get a piece of equipment in there to grade it. But the theoretical match point really means a lot to us. That means that that's all we really need to touch But again, from a practicality standpoint, we need to be able to have a piece of equipment to do the grading. So there will be pretty much disturbed to the right of way or to the existing fence that's there. So a couple of the quick, the major changes. The first thing, because of the reduced budget in this approach, we've extended the south end of the project to pave the entrance to the dog park. Some of that is half county, but we extended that piece of the project to pave an entrance to the dog park. We've also eliminated the relocation of 17th Avenue. That we were going to rebuild that intersection. We've eliminated that relocation and just tied in with an asphalt fillet around the edge of that intersection. If you go to the right, there you go. There's the intersection of 17th Avenue. Again, we relocated that once upon a time. That's been removed. And then you also.
Let me back you up a second then. So from a city's perspective, I wouldn't expect us to be on the landowners, but I know we talked about relocating that, but in the future, when 17th does get paved, is that going to be an issue for us by not relocating it?
I think you may want to look at it at that time. Again, depending on the growth in traffic and you have ownership on both sides of 17th Street. So you have the opportunity to do that. That's a good improvement that we can address at some future point.
I guess my thinking would be is that we don't want to, I wouldn't want to have to tear something up that we put in. I guess that's my thinking.
Yeah, and that's kind of why we minimize the work on South 17th Street, just to pave that fillet so that the gravel doesn't spill out onto the new paved road.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, if we do 17th, then eventually, are we gonna have to go in and tear up part of the South K, then we've already.
I don't believe so.
You think we're okay with that?
Tie into it.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so as you can see, the grading limits on this sheet are all within existing right-of-way. So there's no easements, no disturbed area outside of the existing right-of-way. If we could go to the next sheet, Jackie, please. Page down, maybe.
It's the 1 to 2, the page number.
I see now, sorry.
Way up. Way out. All right, perfect. Okay, this is another area of the project where there really isn't a lot of geometric changes. Only we've reduced the amount of grading. We're pretty much on grade at this point in time. Basically, the new paved road is going to be about the same vertical location as the existing road in this area. So you can see the red dashed line stays completely within the right-of-way for this sheet. And again, the connection to West 14th Avenue would be basically a fillet. So it'd be an asphalt fillet that would go onto the existing pavement. So we had a good smooth transition for that intersection. But really, we're matching that just to right exactly where it is. No work up West 14th Avenue. One of the other things that I would point out is in the on parcel 14A, there's a light red dashed line that shows an existing grading easement that was purchased by the county some years ago that you still have control over. So as you can see, the far end of the sheet, we just start getting outside of the existing right-of-way, but we're still within that grading easement that was purchased some years ago. So again, we're in this area, we're not straying outside of the existing right-of-way. In fact, most of the fence lines will still remain. We do have needs for the project, soil needs for the project. And we're working with IMU to potentially, or to get some soil material from that part of the property. We're going to do that without disrupting any of the existing equipment or any of the existing poles. So basically, along the, on your property, on the City of Indianola property, along the fence line, to the east of the fence line, we'll probably get obtain some fill material for the north end of the project from that area. Any questions on this portion of the project?
So like on the entrance to 14th, is that entrance built the same? Is it going to have a 12-inch base with 3-inch asphalt over the top where it meets up to that concrete?
So there'll be like 1.5 inch asphalt on top of the existing pavement is probably how it'll end up. So we'll keep the existing pavement, won't tear the existing pavement out, we'll just put the new asphalt on top of the existing pavement. Any other questions? Okay. Moving on to the portion of the project by West 12th Avenue. Here we're getting into a little bit more grading, but still within the right-of-way and existing easements on both sides of the roadway. Major changes here is that there was no significant work on West 12th. As before, we were going back about 100 feet, I think, or so, up West 12th. We're, again, matching in right where it is today, and providing an asphalt fill overlay at that point in time. If you recall, there was a proposed significant retaining wall on parcel 16. That's gone. We're not doing any of that grading. So again, we're matching pretty much where it is today. So that's a change. The other thing that has that changed a little bit is if we look at the orange box in the kind of around the right edge of the sheet, that's a drainage easement. That's a fairly major culvert that we're putting in there. It's very deep. And there's also a confluence of a couple channels that come together there. So we're obtaining some easement so that we can stabilize that area at the outlet, so that we can try to reduce and contain the erosion that's kind of happening today. Also in that area, again, because it's very deep and very steep, we're proposing a segment of cable guardrail to protect that slope, so that we don't have an errant vehicle going down the slope and into the existing creek and at that area. So there will be a guardrail proposed there on the west side of the roadway. Any questions on this portion of the project?
Yeah, what's the, going across property 14A, 14B, 17A, 17B, some of there's dashed red lines there, is that what?
Those are those grading easements that were previously purchased.
Previously purchased, okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank
Is
you.
that gonna cause any issues? Because I know we just approved like a lot change for one of those areas.
No, it shouldn't have
Wanting to build
any.
a house.
So two things, shouldn't have any issues, and number two, we're only disturbing ground in those existing grading easements on around station 126, which is on the left-hand side of the sheet. You can see the grading limits go outside of the existing kind of permanent right-of-way, just a little bit. So it's still well within that easement. Much of this area, like on parcel 17A, we're not using any of that easement area. We'll stay within the permanent easement right away. Catch, Steve, I forgot to mention those other grading easements. Thank you.
So that's where you're gonna buy it, get the easement there. That's where the road is gonna have to be disturbed and disrupted then.
Are you talking about on property 18?
Property 18, you've got a culvert that's going across there. Is that gonna go underneath the road, or
Correct, that goes underneath the road.
you're not gonna have to disturb the bed itself, or are you gonna core under it? or
We
what?
are gonna have to, there's a right now today, there's a bend in the existing corrugated metal pipe that drops about 8 feet.
Okay,
And so we're gonna have to go down to that 8 feet and then compact, bring in compact.
we're gonna cut through the bed, or the current bed, is that correct? Okay.
That's
So,
that area we talked about.
right,
last.
yeah, so the question becomes then for traffic, a couple of questions I have then for traffic as you're doing that. Obviously, that road's gonna be closer. You're gonna run it down 12, or down 12th, then out to G Street, is that what the plan is?
Yep.
We realize that 12th Street's in horrible condition, right? Okay. Saying.
Yep.
All right.
Any other questions on that, this segment of the project?
Actually, yeah, so you mentioned, Steve, the condition of 12th Street, or 12th Avenue. Is there anything that we can do before this starts to get our street crews out there and start addressing some of the minor repairs that could be done? I know there's like a lot of potholes and stuff like that that we can maybe repair
I'll let-
prior to this.
I'll let AP address that.
Question, but I don't know if there's any hope.
Yeah, so that's partly,
Next asphalt project.
Yeah.
the failures are mostly decracking and the type of failures, there's no good fix for that unless you do an overlay on that. You can do patches where you can do localized patches, but generally the type of failure has spread out to a point where I think best fix is to redo an overlay on that surface.
The other thing is that previously we were talking about months and months and months, and now we're talking about weeks and weeks. You know, I think the context of how long the detour is gonna be is a little different. And we don't have a contractor on board to get a construction schedule and things of that nature, but we'll work our way through that when we get a contractor on board. But, you know, just the scope of the project from months and months of detour to really weeks and weeks.
Let me back up that question a little bit then. The AP sat down too soon, but, so are we talking a major overlay on that or just a temporary overlay, or what are we talking to fix that to a point where it's?
So temporary fixes can still be done with coal patching, but that's not going to be a permanent fix. So one of the concepts we've discussed about is to do an overlay similar, 2 to 3 inch overlay throughout that corridor between K and G Street is one of the concepts, alternate bid maybe, you know, so we've discussed about that is the best solution for that.
I'm assuming you take up what's currently there and then compact it a little bit better in some of those places and then put the overlay down, or what would you just overlay what's there?
So most of these are low traffic, low volume roads
Right.
where you don't, I mean, it stood up well.
Yeah.
You see the compared to K Street, it stood up well, so you'll just maybe grind it and then use it as a base, and then you put down 1.5 inch of overlay, and then you have another 1.5 inch.
I think more than a full repair, what the council's really asking is, can we just go out right before this culvert is torn out and just patch anything, compact it, smooth it out, and just make it so it's traversable for a couple weeks during that time period? Is that really?
To prevent it from getting even worse is
It's
what
a
my-
potential CIP discussion in January of if it needs to
As far
be,
as-
if the extensiveness of the work.
Well, and maybe to a certain point, but I guess I'm kind of throwing this out here, but would it make sense for us to do that as an alternate? Good. We got the folks there, would it make sense for us to do an alternate on that and do the overlay? That's my question.
Yes, that is definitely an option that we can do it as an alternate bid for K Street or 13th Avenue between K and G. But to do fixes, I don't think there's a good fix. There's a way to repair before the construction starts. Alternate bid is a good solution if there's a way to do that. So,
Do the alternate bid when we have to start the public hearing and assessment process and all that.
I don't think we'd assess that because it's already paved, is that correct?
So there's no assessment.
Just make sure we're all clear on that.
So Yeah, that's just my question. I think that's something we probably as a council need to discuss.
I think it is something we should definitely look at doing, because if we're already gonna be down there, we already have crews doing it, why not?
They've already mobilized, they're already gonna be there, yeah.
I think it comes down to the cost ultimately.
Well, it does, absolutely, but, you know, with the cost of this project, we've got other things we'd like to do with the savings we've got, I understand that, but I think if you're gonna put, I don't know how much traffic goes down that right now. Do we have, what was the last traffic study we did on that? Do we know?
This is a while ago, 2017, we did.
What kind of car, how many cars a day were we talking?
I don't recall.
On K Street, it's about 1,000 plus vehicles per day.
It was in the hundreds. It wasn't 1,000 on 12. It was
12 is
less.
definitely less
No,
than.
no, I understand not on 12, but my point with that is, it will be because we're gonna put those cars on there.
Just as a side question, I was gonna ask earlier, can we also be good about signage and like tell people to turn on 17th before they come up, and then also remind people on 14th to stop some of
Yeah,
that
I
traffic
mean,
before it goes on 12?
People will find alternative routes.
Yep.
That, you know, I mean,
$100 in signs to remind them to a little earlier.
It
Be
is
helpful.
difficult to predict who's going to drive where when the road's closed. It's a difficult thing to do, for sure.
When would you have to know if we wanted to do that as an alternate?
Oh, we could always change our, oh, no, wait a minute. We would.
Talking about.
Good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, we would probably have to know by the end of the month.
Okay.
We could, yeah, we could do something.
I mean, at least get a cost estimate or something along that line. I'm assuming there wouldn't have to be, I mean, we don't have to do a lot of grading there. I wouldn't want us to do probably if we're just gonna do an overlay.
Yeah, I guess there's a couple different approaches that we talked about, soup to nuts on that a little bit. So I think if we can flesh that out a little bit more. Because it also might be, instead of an alternate, it might just be a bid item for repair.
Well, I'm kind of with Christine on that. I think it's one of those things we probably need to do ahead of time before that cut's made so that we can, sure the traffic are gonna, we owe it to the folks on 12th and then essentially on G as well. And I think we need to make sure that we take care of that.
Yeah.
So it's already submitted as part of the capital request. It's already in the request for additional funding required for 13th Avenue, so.
Well, let's make sure we put that on the agenda somewhere so we can talk about that. So.
Just to clarify too, for the K Street folks, this would not be anything that would be assessed or added.
Where those on 12?
Clear.
I mean, we could take steps to discourage people to use that route as well.
Sure.
Backtrack to Josh's point. But again, people are people and.
And eventually, we're gonna have to do something with it anyway, and as if we've got everybody mobilized and we're doing something, we can do something that makes sense there, then I guess that's my thought. Okay, sorry.
Nope. Okay, we'll move on to the sheet 4, which is also a exciting part of the project. As you can see here, the red dash line is well within the existing right-of-way through this stage of this section of the project as well. Also, there is through this area from approximately the entrance to parcel 21B all the way to the edge of the sheet. There's a cable guardrail on the west side of the road. That's where it's really steep on that side of the road. And we're replacing a couple damaged culverts. You can see those are the green dashed lines. We're also, again, in the vicinity of parcel 24, staying completely within existing right-of-way. And in order to do that, the ditch is significantly undersized, so we have a little bit of a drainage storm sewer system proposed through that area so that ditch can function. But that allows us to, again, stay completely within the existing right-of-way. We won't be buying buying any right of way from that parcel or disturbing any of the trees on that side of the fence. Similarly, we have some areas that are, the brown rectangles are temporary construction easements, so that we can install those replacement culverts in that area.
Three on that one, on this page then, is that correct?
3 easements?
Yes.
Yep, correct.
And again, those are,
Temporary.
right, but these all will be going through, actually digging down through the
Yep.
subbase then, okay.
That's correct. Any other questions on this portion of the project?
So on the, you've got the 2 culverts that are up kind of at the entrance to 25A there, but the other ones that are farther down, are those just really small culverts then that go
Yes.
underneath the road? Okay. so-
Basically storm sewer pipe.
Okay, and I see that running along the grading limit area, there's a green line there too, with the same thing, it'll be pipe
That's,
running.
yep, that's gonna be a subdrain.
Okay.
Again, because there's not much capacity in that ditch.
Right.
So we're gonna have a little area intake and a subdrain so that when there is water there, that it's got a place to go.
Okay, I couldn't tell if there was horizontal line in there or not,
Yep.
so, okay.
Dave, on 24, and I know we've already mentioned how it's in the existing right of way already, well within that. But I know one of the concerns of those property owners were their trees.
Yes.
This will not impact the trees, correct?
The trees on their side of the
On
property.
their side of the road.
On their side of the,
property.
on their side of the fence, if you
Okay.
will. I'm not sure that there's a fence all the way through there or not. But again, from a practical standpoint, we're pretty marginal
Yeah.
impact there.
I appreciate that.
There will be some, I'm not gonna say that they won't go outside of that red line, but they will stay within the existing right of way. So when they turn a vehicle around, or there's a
Absolutely.
dozer, or the end loader or something, that might get goofed up a little bit, but we've got a pretty context sensitive, minimal design in that area. Any other questions on sheet 4? If not, we'll go to sheet 5. Lots of stuff going on in sheet 5. Okay, sheet 5 also shows the intersection to the West Second Avenue or Highway 92. The big changes in this area includes the reduced grading, and the intersection is smaller. The geometry of the intersection is smaller. The return radiuses are smaller than we had originally proposed. And the right turn lane from Highway 92 south to K Street is longer. And the reason it's longer is the radiuses are smaller and the vehicles have to slow down to make that turn. More than before, it was more of a highway radius, a little higher speed, and we didn't need the deceleration distance. With the tightening of the geometry of this intersection, that gives us a few things. The first thing it gives us is, less pavement. The second thing that it gives us is a shorter pedestrian path to cross K Street for those folks. The other thing it gets us is it gets us out of conflicts with the IMU, a key IMU pole in the southeast quadrant of the intersection. There's a major pole and some guy wires that we've redesigned that intersection to avoid those impacts. And that's fairly significant to underground this portion of the electric system. It's not as simple as just going underground and coming back up a pole on the other side of the road. There's a whole circuit that needs to be addressed, and the project is a little bit is longer, goes further up Highway 92 in order to do that. The lead time on equipment and materials for that project is significant. Like wouldn't show up until next year. So this revised geometry is very beneficial in that regard. It saves a significant amount of expenditure and delay for the project. That's, that's really good. That means we can do that. I am a little bit concerned that we're gonna, the pole's right there. So we're gonna wanna keep this project on schedule. I think they said 5 years, within the next 5 years, this will be underground. I think that project, we'll be glad when that pole is underground and the guy wires are away to the street. Because of the reduced speeds, I don't see it as a significant safety concern, but it is something that I think we'll want to keep on top of, and in the next 5 years, we'll want to get that pole out of that corner of the intersection. Let's see, the other changes are the orange box in the southeast quadrant of the intersection. We're going to dedicate part of the right-of-way for that future switchgear for the IMU underground project while we're buying right-of-way in the corner, the blue triangle. We're going to obtain the needed right-of-way for the IMU project so that we're ready to go when that project comes up to the top of their work schedule.
Dave, is that deceleration lane there, is that concrete then, or is that gonna be?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So concrete will be back to, just past the first green line across the, okay.
Yep, first set of
that'll all be
intakes.
concrete.
Yep, where the pink dash lines pick up is where we switch from concrete to asphalt.
Right. Okay.
Question for you. So the grading limits around the Tulip apartment group. So that, it looks like it comes really close to those garages.
So what's happening there, that's the easement area. And what's happening there is the slope is just gonna go straight to the curb. So all that, it'll be fill, so we'll be placing material on top of the existing ground.
Okay, so it's not gonna cause any structural issues
No.
for those buildings, right? Okay.
Nope, and if, yeah, I think the tan stuff is covering up my dash lines on this one. The grading limits don't go all the way out to that dash line. That's the temporary construction easements. Those are usually
Okay.
5 feet beyond the grading limits.
Gotcha, okay.
Halfway.
Same thing on parcel 26A and 26B. We're urbanizing that area, so we're trying to get that water flow into the intakes. So we're doing some shaping in there more than to say grading. I think it's more shaping to get that to work.
Was Fairway originally part of the first assessment group?
I think so.
They were last time.
And so this design of the intersection was worked out with IMU like last Thursday. So the stuff we mailed out to the property owners on Wednesday is different than this. So we need to reach out to those property owners that are in this intersection area, because this is, good news is it's a little tighter. But it is a little bit different, especially as it relates to the right turn lane off of Highway 92. Any other questions on the last sheet?
I got a couple, it's not, really tied to the last sheet, just a couple of things I've been thinking about during the week. So as I read through the packet, going through the K Street information, it talked about, the 12-inch base, the 3-inch overlay, and then it talked about the curb or the parking, right? Is the parking, is it concrete or is it also asphalt? They talked about it being paved.
Shoulders.
The shoulders, thank you.
Yeah, I was,
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, the shoulders are paved as well.
Shoulders are paved, okay.
Yeah, and they're paved on that subgrade. So it'll have a 12-inch deep subgrade underneath the paving.
But it's actually concrete, not asphalt?
No, it's asphalt.
Okay, because it said paved in there, so I didn't.
Yeah,
wasn't
paved
quite
shoulder,
sure.
yeah, yep, it is all asphalt.
And then, one other question, Dave. You know, the 3-inch overlay, we talked about the 10-year life expectancy. Is there like a formula where if you go 4 inches, you get X number of years of life out of it?
So a lot of it is based on the traffic that you expect. I mean, it's really more about the traffic than it is about just inches equals years. If there's a significant increase in traffic, there's, you know, something happens and a big traffic generator gets constructed on this, then it will last less long. That has more to do with it than just the inches of asphalt. So kind of how it works is you calculate how many axle loads you think you're going to get based on how much traffic you're going to get, and then you load that repeatedly. So it isn't an exact formula. It's more about traffic than it is about years. And so we could take the same traffic, spread it out over 20 years and come up with a different number. Those are, you know, you set all of those parameters, get you to the structural number you need to get to make it work. We have been very pleased with the performance of this cement stabilized base with asphalt, because that you're really putting more of your money in the solid foundation and the base of it than you are in the wearing surface on the top.
And with it being asphalt, you do have the ability to maintain it differently. If say like you said, a traffic generator
Moves
built
in,
someplace, we would be at some point in time be able to spend some dollars to maintain it, to get another couple more years out of it.
Add an inch and a half or whatever
So
at
there's
some future
options
time.
with that,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, it really puts us in the flexibility seemed really important, so I think putting us in this flexible position, I think is important.
I have a question. So I know speed has been a major concern for folks on that road and what it's gonna be like after this is done. Is it something that we need to be considering, some type of like speed bump? Because I know like over on First, I think it's First, on your way to the high school, there's some speed bumps on that road to keep traffic slowed down. Is that something we should be considering putting in during this process to help alleviate some of those speed issues?
So I'm not a super big fan of speed bumps, and snow removal is, you know, gives a real problem. The guardrail will help. I mean, I think that's gonna have a vertical, there's this guardrail right next to the road that is close, we believe that'll help kind of slow traffic down. It kind of draws attention to the, you know, potential hazard that's outside the roadway.
I get that, but I mean, growing up in the country, okay, I grew gravel roads every day.
Oh, yeah.
And I myself had no problems going, 50, 55 miles an hour down a gravel road. If they're doing that currently. So I don't see how just a guardrail is gonna be enough of a deterrent for those who, grew
Yep,
up
people are people.
driving on those roads, they grew up on rougher roads, so that asphalt's not gonna be anything.
The large concern that you're gonna have there too is whatever you do in one area of town, you need to do everywhere. Because if we start putting speed bumps in here, everyone else will want them in other places. And that does cause a traffic flow issue as well as moving plows and things of that nature. So be prepared, whatever floodgate you wanna,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think enforcement is very necessary, and as I recall from the speed study that was done some years ago, this was unique that there were a lot of people that were following the speed limit, that were driving a reasonable speed, but oh boy, the people that weren't were really fast. I mean, that was sort of unusual, that there wasn't it wasn't statistically just spread out all over the place. It was a nice grouping around the posted speed limit of, 35 miles an hour. And then, boy, the outliers were outliers. They were doing significant speed, which that's a danger. I don't care what the pavement condition is,
I know Chief
that's not
Shears,
okay.
Chief Shears reached out to the homeowners that have brought that up in the past and got permission to be in their driveway and plans to put the trailer out there and do enforcement from time to time. It has to be hit and miss because he has to take care of the entire city, but we do want to be on top of it right away.
I think the issue too is alternate forms of enforcement, and that's something down the road. If I mentioned that to Ben, and it is a slippery slope in some areas, but it's a question on whether or not you want to look at alternate ways of enforcement and have somebody out there 24/7.
What is the speed limit gonna be on that road?
I think it's statutory, isn't it, AP? 35, isn't it statutory?
Yeah.
The city code, I think.
35.
Yeah, 35.
40.
Yeah. Well, we only have a few more minutes, so we do have another item on the agenda.
We can table that one and
Okay.
come back to it.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions? Now we got a few minutes, so.
Dave?
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your quick work too.
All right, well, item 3, discussion, and direction regarding new and amended policies for the city of Indianola. So this would, Ben, let you lead this.
I think we put this in there because we weren't sure how much time would be used. Give a quick high-level report. Our internal services is looking at various policies that they are proposing for everything from communication to our employee handbook, and just want to bring things to you in the future to get your review and approval before implementing them fully. Information technology, all sorts of things. And so we were just going to have a general discussion, and we can certainly postpone that to a different day.
Appreciate them working on all of that.
Guys in the back of the corner of the room.
Thank you.
I'm postponing, I'm good.
So what would be what's the next steps in the South K? So Dave and you will meet with homeowners, correct?
So
I
that
guess
will come
that's
up
probably, I'm
later on
sorry.
the agenda tonight.
Yeah.
We'll go over
Just do
that.
that quick? I got the next steps. I mean, you're taking action at the council meeting later, and you're going to consider the council valuation and adopt the council valuation if you so choose. You're also going to publish the resolution of necessity, which is the resolution that starts the project, and then you're going to set a public hearing
Okay.
for and a special meeting. Then after that, assuming those pass, then Snyder Associates and the city start contacting property owners tomorrow to set up individual meetings to discuss both the assessments and the right-of-way for those affected parcels. And just remember how the process goes. So individual meetings will talk about the basically deferments, the agricultural deferments, the development agreements that the city offers, large lot, single-family homes. And those are detailed one by one, hard to do at a public meeting. Those are detailed discussions.
And those, Dave, I'm sorry to cut you off. Those one-on-one meetings will be done before our public hearing on December 28th.
We're going to make every attempt. I mean, I hopefully,
I know it gets tricky with holidays.
right, with
and
the
stuff,
holidays and vacations.
But our intent is to meet with all the homeowners.
Yes.
Before our
I think
public
that
hearing.
needs to be a priority, that before it goes to public hearing, that they've had that meeting. I don't know how comfortable I feel with it going to.
Yeah, but I think what we're looking at here is, we've got time, but you can't force people to adjust their schedules while
Right.
we will on our end do every,
Well, that's what I'm saying,
that
if we need
they
to
are,
adjust a
but we
schedule.
cannot force the homeowners to change anything to meet with us when they.
No, I'm saying we need to make sure that we are adjusting our
Oh,
schedule.
and I think
if
you
it
guys will.
comes to
We're
that.
going to make ourselves available. I'm not going anywhere for the holidays, so
Yeah.
here in Indianola.
Nights, evenings, lobby at Hy-Vee. No, probably not.
Okay, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Dave. So-
Nope, that's fine. I just, that was, starting tomorrow, we're going to start making those meetings.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, is there any items on the upcoming agenda that you'd like to discuss? All right, seeing none, we'll take about a 4-minute break and meet back at 7.
Josh, where are you this week? Where you going?
To Denver.
It's just about to gavel and you started talking.
I'm actually on the late flight, which is nice. I don't have to leave till 8.
I now call to order the City of Indianola Council meeting for December 4th, 2023. If we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jackie, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Beach.
Here.
Parker.
Present.
Dalby.
Here.
Richardson.
Present.
Schroeder. Gray. Mayor Erickson.
Present. Moving on in the agenda, we have public comment. We have somebody who would like to speak on K Street, and we will actually, when we get to that item on the agenda, isn't very far down there, under old business, I will take your public comment at that point. But if there's anybody who would like to speak a public comment that is not regarding K Street, you can come forward. Moving on, are there any items that need to be pulled from the consent agenda?
Claims.
Anything else?
Item O.
All right. Anything else? Can I get a first and second motion to approve the consent agenda with the exceptions of C, item O, or C and item O?
So moved. Second.
Ben, you want to give us a quick rundown on this?
You bet. We have a resolution approving reimbursements for the downtown facade interior program. Great improvements all throughout the square. It's looking beautiful out there. We have a special event permit for the Home for the Holidays event on the 9th. We invite everybody in the community to come out, as well as suspending the enforcement of alcohol regulations that night, so that in support of that event. Third, consideration of the ordinance vacating right-of-way for East Boston Avenue. Second, consideration for the ordinance amending recycling rates. A resolution approving change order number 5, a negative $9,100.
Yes.
And payment application number 6 for the East Hillcrest project. A resolution granting various easements for the East Boston property that we're vacating out there, as well as for the sale of a portion of right-of-way out there. Resolution approving the sale of right-of-way for an alley between the north side of 1000 block of East Salem Ave. Resolution approving a memorandum of understanding with Central Iowa Code Consortium. To the fire department, extending the dates for the brush facility. We've had some great weather in the month of December and providing extra service to our community out there. Health insurance premium holiday. We're self-insured in many fronts, and so this is an opportunity to save both the employer and the employee by suspending the payments into the insurance fund for the month of December. We're holding on item O, resolution approving transfers and creating a inter-service fund for vehicles and equipment for the IWC. I'm setting that up. And then approval of urban renewal revitalization designations and salaries.
One question here, if I may.
Sure.
In our conversations about 1801 East Boston and that transfer of property, I know that I'd mentioned the fact that we were looking at making sure that the trees were the responsibility of the owners in that particular area if something would have to be done. Do we need to put that in the documents that we're putting out there? I know it's assumed we got the right of way and everything, but I don't know a council, 2 or 3 councils down the road may understand that.
So there's 2 different aspects of this. What's in the easement document is that we would need to replace sod and soil and any mulch material or anything else like that. But we don't have to replace any trees that are out there. The removal of trees, that's something that's not actually in the agreement. If that's something that you want to have added, then we would need to do that by motion to add that in there. But we don't have to restore anything. That's part of the easement that's already included in the document in paragraph 4 of each of those easements.
So the question would be is if I amend my motion to include that language in that information that the trees would be the removal at the cost of the owner. Can I go ahead and do that if he approves, if he allows that as a second?
What trees are there?
There's trees that the owners planted in that area.
That's on their side of the
But you
easement,
already
right?
could, because you own
own the easement area.
No, we're vacating.
Okay, you're vacating, you can put that in there as long as John amends it a second.
Even though it's on the consent agenda?
Yes, even though.
Okay.
It'll be around, goes on the consent.
I'm questioning the attorney.
I just looked that out, John, but you caught it before I did.
Just trying to keep you
You
on your
okay
toes.
with that, John?
Doug.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. That makes sense.
You okay with that then?
If the trees need to be removed, that they would be at the
That
cost.
cost the owners, yes. Okay.
That's the
And
first
he is,
one.
yep, okay.
And then I just have a couple
Yeah.
comments. One, Steve, you do have a change order that you do like there, so.
Yeah, thank you very much, yes.
And then two, in comment with, as I'm getting off into the sunset here, the holiday for the health insurance to me is absolutely incredible, and it's actually probably a little bit of thank you needs to be out to the staff for, one, being healthier, and two, taking control of your health resources and using them to your benefit. Because when I first got to council a long time ago, we were at points where we were going to lose our self-insurance because our pool was so bad. And now we have to we can't stop. I mean, we're getting such good rates and people are taking care of themselves, and the health thing is just incredible. So one, I want to say thank you to staff for doing that, because it does make it better for the budget and better for the taxpayers of Indianola in a roundabout way. That's one of those things that people don't get to see. And so I think by making note of that, people will understand that staff's doing a good job of managing this and being able to bring these costs down to the point where we don't even have to charge for a month. And that's a good thing, so.
You have some great policies in place to make sure that employees are doing screenings each year, and your staff is working with the safety committee to make sure people are safer while they're working. So there's a lot going on in the background, and we appreciate our staff and all that they do. So this is a great benefit to the employees as well.
Really comment.
Yeah, as I'm eating candy, so. Great work, staff.
Have some more sugar.
All right, so any other questions or comments? Jackie?
Councilmember Schroeder,
Aye.
Ray,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
I need a first and second motion on item C, approval of claims.
Second.
Any discussion? Jackie?
Councilmember Richardson,
Abstain?
Schroeder.
Aye.
Ray,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Parker,
Abstain.
Dalby,
Aye.
All right, moving on, I need a first and second motion on item O, a resolution approving a contract with OPN Architects for architectural services relating to the public safety City Hall building project.
Do we want to second or to
Just table it.
table it rather than a motion to approve? I'd move to a table.
I'll second.
And
So I got a first and second to table, that's all I need? And we don't need to vote then?
you need to vote, but
Okay.
I think we need to talk
You
about
want to
why.
give an update? Yeah, Ben, on that.
Sure, so we have a standard contract from our architectural services, AAA standard agreement. And some questions came up about certain aspects of the agreement that maybe we want to customize because of the new construction manager risk. This is new to the state of Iowa, and there's really three models out there that are going forward: the airport, the Waukee, and the Bondurant model. We're most aligned with the Bondurant model, and so we want to make sure that the standard language of the AAA contract for architectural services really complies with what they're doing in Bondurant. And since we're bringing on a construction manager and we have time for advertisement, there's time to make these minor modifications to the agreement and bring that back to you, hopefully at your 18th, on December 18th meeting.
Sounds great. Jackie?
Councilmember Schroeder,
Aye.
Ray,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Moving on to council reports, I need a first and second motion to receive and file the October 2023 treasurer's report.
So moved. Second.
We have our wonderful treasurer, Mr. Doug Shaw, here in case you have questions for him. He wasn't moving too fast to answer them, so he's pretty comfy. All right, seeing no questions, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to item B, I need a first and second motion to receive and file the October 2023 EMS billing activity report.
So moved.
We have Captain Bernhardt here this evening in case there's any questions, specifically from Ron.
Looks like it does every month.
Okay, simple enough. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item C, I need a first and second motion to receive and file the fiscal year 23 audit report.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Great. Item 7. Mayor's report. I drove by the Indianola Wellness Center today and noticed a new sign. That looks really good. I don't know who did that. I don't know if it was a local sign guy that sits at this table or not. It was?
Yeah.
It does look really good. So I don't know how long it's been up there, but,
This morning.
oh, great. So I caught it on the right day, so perfect.
Yeah.
This weekend from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock on the square is the Home for the Holidays event. Mayor's Youth Council will be in one of the very warm tents. We have heaters for all the tents outside on Howard, collecting letters and helping children write letters to Santa Claus. There will be a response that those children get. On Wednesday, Mayor's Youth Council, we are going for a tour of Harvest Academy and having lunch with them. And then Steve, I think, is doing this as well, but there's Municipal Leadership Academy coming up. Steve and I are doing that. And
Doing, if anybody's interested.
yeah,
I think Steve, one of those, I'm not sure which one, but. Yeah, okay, great.
Great.
Awesome.
there's some really exciting, very boring events to join in. So pick your poison, which ones you guys want. I don't want anything with budgeting, so I'll let Ron do that or something. And that's all I have. Except for 7:30, there's a lighted parade on the square. If you come and if there's a vote, Mayor's Youth Council probably will have the best one, so. If there's a trophy involved like there was last time. Moving on to item 8, and this is old business. This is where we'll have the discussion and we'll hear the public comment on South K Street. So that is our first item. Crowd's not as big as it usually is, so we've heard a lot of your concerns and we will continue to hear those. Again, there's a lot of unknowns until you have your one-on-one with engineer and the city manager. And we just ask that you don't repeat comments. We're aware of specific issues and we'll continue to address those. So the first sheet that I have is from Jim Berkeley, I always say it wrong, 1007 South G Street.
We do have the official public hearing if the council approves on the 28th.
Yes, so this is not the finalization. We will be setting a public hearing this evening. So these are just preliminary comments that, all right. All right. Still weird, I always want to just call you James, so.
You can call me James, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, City Council members. Unlike some folks on K, my wife and I did receive our information in the mail. I will say that I was a little more pleased with the assessment than the original. Still not terribly pleased with the amount. City's now evaluating our property at over $640,000. Currently, our taxes for property taxes in the city is pushing $10,100. Now with this new addition of the K Street project and the evaluation, it's going to add another $1,800 to our property taxes, raising it almost to around $12,000 a year. So $1,000 a month for property taxes. When we moved to the community, we were pushing roughly, it was around $6,500 to $6,800. They said they were behind a little bit, so I understood that. But in 6 years that we've lived in the community, I've raised $3,200 in property taxes. And again, I'm asking that the city strongly encourage Snyder to reevaluate this commitment. 32 homes is what is being targeted to pay for this project, ladies and gentlemen. 32 homes, when the road is gonna be able to allow anybody in town to access it. Lobby, the city park, the dog park. The city has access to water treatment. So I really am imploring the city council to strongly, I know this is not the final meeting, but to strongly reevaluate the utilization of this commitment. I do not believe that it is the appropriate avenue to use for this type of a project. You know, it's meant to be used in more of a urban setting, not a rural acreage and rural community setting. Thank you.
Hey, Dave, could I ask a question? How did you determine those numbers when we look at the preliminary assessment numbers? For instance, Mr. Berkeley's, he's got two on here. One of them is 566,370. But if I look at the Beacon, I see a different number. Wait a minute.
So, couple things as it relates to your action tonight, it's setting the council valuation. The city council does not have the authority to set the taxable valuation. This does not change what's in the courthouse. This is specifically for the calculation of assessments. It doesn't go right to the courthouse. The courthouse doesn't change the value to these numbers. This is specifically for this process and only for this process.
So even though they don't go directly to the county though, can the county then use these numbers as assessment numbers?
That's not been my experience, that they look at assessment schedules to do that. Again, it is a different process. I guess I'm thankfully not an assessor, so. But that is just for the specific calculation is really all that is.
Another topic. I assume that, maybe it's a bad assumption, there's a lot, probably contractors know this is coming down the pike, is that correct? Would you say that's true?
I hope so, yeah.
Well, so do I. I didn't know if you'd had any conversations with anybody to know that, so, okay. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Come forward, just state your name and your address for us.
My name is Barb Gould. My husband Randy and I, excuse me, live at 500 South K. We purchased our home in 2009, so we're kind of long-term people on South K. When we moved there and moved in, the road was asphalted at that point in time, or clear coat, I'm not sure exactly what the correct term is, but dust was a minimum thing. It was there, of course, but it was manageable. But one question that I kind of have that they alluded to a little bit today, what kind of assurance is there that the road, if we do it now and we take care of it, will it be maintained over the years? If it had been maintained since 2009 and been, taken care of, we wouldn't be in the situation I don't think that we're in right now. It would have just been, maybe upgraded over time. But that's one question that I would like to have addressed, would be about where it will go and how it will be maintained in the future. Another question, and I'm not sure if I was really following everything that was being said about the paving of 12th Street during this process. And someone made the comment about that no one on that street would be assessed for that because the road was already pre-paved and it was just a maintenance kind of thing. But I figured maybe that was probably just for this project, that there would not be an assessment. But if it was a case of being an already established street, K Street was an established street, so why would I be assessed moving forward for this project. It's a part of a paved street and should have been maintained over the years, but now I'm being assessed for the paving of the street in this project. One of my other questions. The other curiosity, just a curiosity question. I know that, and it's probably a part of the Hillcrest project, but out on the new North 17th Street, which is off Hillcrest, clear to the east, there's no property owners there. There are no commercial stops, properties there, but it's a concreted curb and gutter, beautiful city urban street. Who's paying for that? Do I pay for that in the Indianola city tax base? And am I being charged for that street? And what benefit will I receive from that street? Those are the same questions that people have of K Street. What benefit does the city have of K Street? Well, there's a lot of benefits to the city as a whole, to the county as a whole, and yet, what do you think, 32 people are being assessed for the majority of paying for it. So
A little bit on, to address some of the things, I'll let you continue going if there was some, but I wanted to maybe catch some ones. On Hillcrest, that was actually paid for by a grant that we received. It had certain specifications. It was a grant, I believe, from the federal government. Federal, so it had to be.
Which was also earmarked in 2014, wasn't that federal money earmarked at that time to do King Street? Or was it 2017? Or was it 2009?
For which, for Hillcrest?
No, for K Street.
Oh, for K Street. Now, I don't think any of us were here previously when they unfortunately took off the chip coating, which is what it was. It wasn't asphalt, it was chip coating. So I don't think that constitutes a pavement, correct, Dave?
Correct.
It does not follow under the pavement guidelines. Once the road is paved, it is our responsibility to maintain that, and we cannot come back on you. Asphalt qualifies under pavement, so we cannot come back and reassess you again. Am I answering that correctly? And
According to your current policy.
yes, the current policy that we have in place. So while Hillcrest is beautiful, it was paid for by federal dollars, and a grant that was meant to grow our industrial park, that will bring in tax base that we need. That's a little bit on that, and then
That's where the
maintenance,
chip, what did you call it?
chip coating.
A chip seal is just kind of like a dust control measure. It may look a little bit like an asphalt, but it's really just a crust, if you will, over top of the dust. And as it gets lots of traffic, it starts breaking up. And so it's not a true asphalt, 3-inch surface that's truly a paved.
If it were maintained, would it have held up?
We tried to maintain it. I mean, that's the thing, is we tried to maintain it, and we did that, because I was the only one that was here when we did that. And that's why I said it was never paved, is we put the chip coat down, 2014, 2013 maybe, and it didn't last 2 years. And so then we went in and tried grinding down to a certain depth, rolling it, and adding, I don't know, like 4 or 5 applications of calcium chloride to try to, that didn't work. I mean, it needed to be paved, and that was, and I think West 12th, I don't know who up here said that, but I got really jumpy earlier when the word paved was done, because 12th, the whole time I've been on council, I've never approved that to be paved. It was done the same thing. It was just a dust control, because if we were going down K, we said, well, let's just go ahead and do that at that same time. So, and it's gone bad. It's just chip coated is all.
It's terrible.
Is all it was. So that's why when you said paved, I haven't been out there for a long time, and I went, well, when did that get paved? Because I don't ever recall that. And so I knew that somebody was gonna come up with that argument and say, well, you're telling us we can't do K Street, but yet this one is, and because I was concerned about that. So no, 12th Street, I don't think has ever been paved. If it did, it snuck through, and I had no idea it happened. And then to answer your other question about 17th, you said over, that was done with a private agreement with property owner in there through TIF funding to pave that into the industrial park, and then opened up all those lots that will then paying for that, essentially, is what it is, through the increased tax base. So that's where that one is. So I mean, just probably the one property alone that he's developing now, and then a couple of the others we'll pay for that road in less than 10 years. So, yeah, so that's why that one was done. So, but yeah, anyway, so.
Your question, Barb, about maintenance, you know, I've talked a couple times about different things, but with the savings that we've got coming because we're doing asphalt rather than concrete and curb and gutter, I'm hoping that we can put aside some money from the proceeds that we currently have kind of allocated for the entire project originally, and have that as a fund that we can then get into to do the maintenance on that road on a regular basis. In fact, I'm thinking we talked a little bit, I mean, somewhere along the line, somebody, whether it was Dave or somebody, mentioned that a year or two, we'll probably need to put down a little bit of a sealer on that and do a couple of other things, and I'm hoping that we can kind of bank some of that money so that that's there for that kind of maintenance.
And as long as you realize the traffic patterns that are on that road, which are, you know, all of the IMU trucks, all of the county trucks going from the highway down to the maintenance building, all of the farm equipment that goes back and forth, the semis that use the road. So we're talking 10 years,
Well, you know, and you make a good point. But that was one of my original questions when we moved this whole project from concrete to asphalt. And the answer I get from the engineers is that because that road's been there for 60, 70, 80, 90 years, that sub base is probably the best base you're gonna have. And as long as we don't disturb that base too much, that you probably got a really, really good road with asphalt. And as long as you maintain that asphalt, you're going to be able to maintain that road and hopefully get more out of it. I go back to a project we did in the 90s on Iowa Street. I believe it was from maybe C Street to G Street. We did an overlay with asphalt there with the idea in mind that that was only going to be good for 10 years as well. It lasted 17. So, and we did no maintenance on that. Beyond that, from my understanding, there was very little maintenance done on that.
I think another good one to look at is Highway 92 was done as an asphalt overlay between Indianola all the way down to Creston. It was done by the DOT, and that actually lasted over 30 years. If we can do it right, and so they just actually, you'll notice that west of town, there's a new section now between Indianola and Winterset. But if we do it right, we make sure we give our team and our staff the correct training to take care of it, which I think we're all committed to. I think we can take good care of it and hopefully get as long as possible.
Well, I would just, this is just anecdotal, but my travels in Des Moines and stuff, the city of Des Moines has been replacing East Broadway from Hubble to, I don't know, someplace to the west there. And they did exactly what we're gonna do. And that's a road that my guess would probably get 2 to 3 times, maybe even 4 times the traffic, heavy traffic than this road will ever
One of
get.
my offices.
Way to Altoona.
I mean, it's.
Fluid drive as well.
Thousands of cars a day.
Yeah, and heavy
Or
truck.
drive though ever.
So I think we're, and that's why in fact, I called Ben here a while back and I was driving down the road and I was paying attention over the last so many weeks, and that's exactly what they did. And I thought, well, if Des Moines doing that with a very heavily traveled road, then.
And that's Highway 6, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, so that's a highway, so it's a state property, it's a state highway, so working in conjunction with the city, but yeah, I mean, we're starting to see that more and more.
Yeah. So I think we'll be good.
Yeah, I think this is the option.
One other point that you made, that I just kind of want to back up everybody a little bit here, is that no more than 25% of the project can be paid for through assessments. I don't do, what's our percentage right now?
That's not true. No more than 25% of the valuation can be assessed.
That's right.
Not the overall project.
Right, the evaluation can be assessed. Dave, do you know what that is, right, what the percentage is right now we're at?
So and while he looks that up, the remaining 75% is being spread out among the city. So only 25% of this is being paid for. The other 75% has to come from somewhere, so it has to come from.
15.28% of the project is being assessed.
Okay.
So of 100% of the project cost, only 15.28% is being assessed.
And so that 85% is then coming out of
Paid for by the
other
whole
citizens
community.
overall. So everybody is paying for it in their everyday taxes. They're just not paying 100% for it.
And there's reasoning for that, because when you asphalt a road, it does raise the value of those homes, which is the increase in the valuation. So someday if you ever sell that home or whatnot, you will be able to command a larger sale price because it's on a paved street versus a non-paved street.
And I disagree totally with you on that one. The valuation that they gave for our home is a 1550 square foot house, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and is, they're claiming that that is a $311,000 house. No, there's no way that that would ever be marketable. Yes, it's on a large lot, on a bigger lot, but it also will eventually be on a very busy street,
Yeah, so we didn't do the valuations, but we had independent professionals.
I would be curious to know how they came up with the number for, what the assessment values are. So,
Do you want to give them a breakdown real quick of the local professionals who sit on that board?
So it's my understanding we had 2 realtors and a appraiser that were on that board, and they individually look at the improvements that are being made compared to the market value of the homes that are before and after, and they come up with an independent group to come up with evaluations.
our property for sure, I'm not sure about the other properties on K Street, but we don't have city utilities. We have electric, we have water, we have no gas, we have no sewer. And there's no plans in the future for any of that to change. So that too, we're in the city limits without having city services. I look forward to having an opportunity to meet with you guys and to stand in our front yard and look at the project. One of my biggest concerns is the ditch where the culvert will be in front of our house. It's about, the ditch itself is about 6 feet deep because I can stand in it and not see over the edge of the road. And there's also places where the ditch is, moving out from underneath the road. And just want the assurances that it's really going to get fixed and be. So I look forward to, I'll be ready whenever you're ready to come and visit us. So give us a call. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just also for one other thing I do want to mention here too, that property taxes aren't only city taxes. Obviously you got the county, which I've always argued that we get very little out of the county for our taxes we pay.
We're the biggest loser out of all of them.
Yeah, the schools, believe it or not, you pay for part of the AEA, the Area Education Agency. Also, I don't know if you folks ever look at tax receipts or not, but you pay a tax for cattle for brucellosis too. I don't know if you know that, but you get that as well, so. Just some comments on that.
And make some introductory comments about the action tonight is to approve the council valuations. One of the things of note is that there were a couple parcels that were separated by use. Parcel 26 was separated into 2 different parcels because there's 2 different uses. Originally, we had included that as one parcel, which you are allowed to do for contiguous parcels or abutting parcels under the same ownership. You can combine that into a single parcel. They are recommending that be split into 2 separate parcels because there's different uses. And that led us into a situation where the preliminary schedule of assessments in your packet is incorrect because the split of the parcel made one of the parcels, moved one of the parcels into conditional deficiency. And the total assessment has been reduced. I have this evening corrected preliminary assessment schedules that reflect that. It also reflects another parcel that was separated. It was a development parcel that had other parcels connected to it that were sold. And now that parcel falls into conditional deficiency, parcel 15. So the new assessed value is less for those 2 parcels. So that is the preliminary assessment schedule that I would ask you to consider this evening. And I apologize for not catching up to that before Wednesday. But what you have is correct.
Any other public comments?
Go ahead. You were before me.
Hi, Council. My name is Rhonda Harvey. I own Accounting Associates, so I am parcel 26. So if what we got in the mail today is not correct, I think we'd like to know before we leave. Okay,
We'll give these out once it's approved.
that's fine. Okay, and then the only thing I saw on the presentation tonight where it talked about the turning lane is that it looks like the turning lane is going to start well towards the fairway. I don't even know how to describe it. The turning lane
First
starts
entrance of-
across from like the fairgrounds, so it would be the east turning lane into Fairway and then goes across the west one. So
Can you?
bring that picture back up, if you would? It would be the one, this one right here. Okay.
And I know that there are, because this is on the highway, there's certain DOT, like state rules and I'm assuming whatever design it is, Dave, you're following what the DOT is requiring?
Sure, there's a little wrinkle on this one, is that, is once we get into the entrance, we don't want that taper to be in the middle of the entrance. So we extended the right turn lane to the other side of the entrance so that.
So it doesn't start in the middle.
So I just wanted, I'm just gonna come over here so it'll just be easier. So we're gonna have the turn lane, the highway, and then this turn lane, correct? Correct. Is that how I'm understanding it? Well, our building is right here, and of course, our customers go in and out of here. We have obviously a lot of traffic January through April, but this backs up and blocks clients getting in and out of our driveway. So with this backing up even more and being a turn lane, because it looked, usually I think we can get, is it 2 cars here before it starts blocking our drive? Now you're gonna be able to get maybe 1 car here, and there can be up to 3 or 4 cars trying to get in and out of Fairway. So I guess with all of these new plans, that is a big concern of mine, of clients not being able to get in and out of here. So I'm not sure how we address that, but while we were here, and this is all new to me as of today, I just want to make sure that I address that and make sure that there's some understanding, because we see, obviously, we look at that street all day long, every day, and that gets backed up, especially during the prime times, after work, in the mornings, things like that. So now with all of the changes, I do have a concern of our clients not being able to get in and out of our driveway, get onto that highway. So that was the one thing that I wanted to point out today. I know everybody's concerned about the assessments, but now I'm concerned about client traffic flow. So that was all I needed.
We'll make sure that that's addressed, because again, like I said, the state kind of requires what we have to do on the highway.
Right.
Property, so Dave can maybe get some more information and dig a little bit deeper.
But I'm just
There's a better
wondering,
solution.
do we need to change our driveway, and how would we do that?
Sure.
So, okay,
Well,
thank you.
I think also you're one of the assessed properties, if I'm not mistaken, so they will be
Yes.
talking to you and a good opportunity for them to talk about that discussion
Okay,
issue.
I just wanted to make sure all
Sure,
of
no,
you
We
knew
really appreciate it,
No, I
we really do.
and made you aware of that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I am Patrick Sullivan. I'm living at 708 South K Street. Just a few things. I do like this plan more than the last one. It's gonna impact our property a lot less. However, because of our weird right of way, I feel we're still gonna lose some trees. He said he was gonna work on not doing that, which we're hoping for the best there. As far as the way we're assessed, I kind of agree with a lot of what all of us are saying. I don't think that the Flint formula is the way to go. With how much traffic our road sees, everybody's using it. Basically just repeating everything else that everybody's saying. There's so much benefit that comes from that road to more than just us that use it. And when it is paved, people who aren't using it now are going to start using it. We didn't receive any of our assessments, so I have to my phone real quick, but although our number is down significantly from the original almost 70,000 we were assessed the first time, we're still at about 26,500. Out of the 15% that's being assessed for this entire project, 1% of this project is gonna be on our shoulders. And I still think that is significantly too high for our project. I would just like to see you guys take into consideration, I know you said a lot of the project is already being assessed through the whole city, but the whole city is gonna benefit from this, so see consideration if you guys could on a citywide assessed project. Not in a cul-de-sac, it's not a private drive, this is the road that has benefits to a lot of the south side of town. Even if you're just cutting corners and not using the town, you're using a shortcut just to get around the center of town, there's gonna be a lot more traffic than we see now, and we already see a lot of it. That's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, so we don't have a motion yet, so we've got to go back to item A. I need a first and second motion to receive and file the revised report evaluation panel for the South K Street paving project.
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Glenn. Any more discussion? All right, Jackie?
Councilmember Schroeder,
Aye.
Brave,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Richardson.
Motion passes. Moving on, I need a first and second motion on a resolution fixing values of lots for the South K paving project.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Jackie?
Councilmember Beach,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Brave,
Aye.
Moving on to item C, I need a first and second motion on the resolution adopting the preliminary plat and schedule, estimate of cost, and proposed plans and specifications for the construction of the South K Street paving project.
So moved.
Any more discussion? All right, Jackie?
Councilmember Rave,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Item D, I need a first and second motion on the resolution of necessity proposed for the South K Street paving project. It sets a public hearing date for December 28th at 6 p.m. here in the City Council chambers for the purpose of hearing property owners subject to assessments and interested parties for or against the improvement, costs, the assessment, or the boundaries of the district.
Second.
Discussion. Jackie?
Councilmember Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Rave,
Aye.
Beach.
Aye.
All right, so just so the public is aware, again, the public hearing will be December 28th at 6 p.m. here in the City Council chambers. And in the meantime, Ben and Dave will be reaching out to set up meetings and go over everything in detail with you. All right, moving on to other business, City Manager's report with Ben Reeves.
Don't have a lot to report. We have some planning, some budgeting, some good things going on in our city right now, some orientations and transition of council, and so we just have a lot going on. Great holidays, great times in the city of Indianola, and we just appreciate the staff and our council and all the residents that we have the honor of serving. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
All right. Item B, I need a first and second motion to enter into closed session in accordance with the Iowa Code Section 21.51J to discuss the purchase or sale of particular real estate only where premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the price the governmental body would have to pay for the property or reduce the price the governmental body would receive for the property.
Second.
Jackie?
Councilmember Schroeder,
Aye.
Rave,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
And if you all want to we'll take a quick break so we can give you guys these updated forms as well too.
Yeah.
And do you need more? Because I can give you mine and.
These are updated ones. There's a limited copy number, so if you, one per home would be great.